Hello, and welcome to the Spring Equinox paint party. It's all about flower power tonight, and we'll be painting an acrylic 10 by 10 piece. I have a piece here. I've actually painted over one of my uh, older paintings, which I do a lot teaching. So feel free to do that yourself. If you run out of materials, you can always paint over, at least with acrylics, you can paint over an old painting. So tonight's session is all about feeling and expressing into that energy of abundance and growth and radical change that spring brings. And I think we can all agree that 2025 is bringing and going to continue to bring. For all the signs are there that this is going to be a wild ride this year. So I think kicking off March and, the night of the spring equinox by embracing that rather than fighting it, embracing it through our creativity and through some breath work and body movement is a beautiful way to start, a beautiful holistic way to embrace change and growth. So what I'm going to do is we'll start off with a little simple body movement. We can do seated. And then we'll do some simple breath work. It's very short. And in the breath work, we'll be working to breathe from our root chakra, which is at the base of our spine, our perineum, pelvic floor area, and we'll be pulling up. We'll have our eyes closed and we'll envision inhaling from that perineum all the way up our central energy channel along our spine, flowing through each chakra up to our pineal gland, the seat of our intuition and the clairs and all kinds of creativity and vision for the future. And we're going to hold our breath right up there at the pineal gland, and then we'll exhale. And then we'll take a breath, just a normal breath, and then we'll do a few more of those perineum to pineal gland repetitions. So let's go ahead and just start with some body movement. This is activating our sacral chakra. This also has to do, it's our seat of pleasure, our playfulness, our creativity, our social connection. So what we'll do is I'll go to the side so you can see. So we're pressing our chest out on the inhale and exhaling, rounding our back and sort of pulling our belly in. So inhale and exhale. Inhale and exhale. And this loosens up that flow of the energy channel. It gets our sacral chakra where our creativity is seated into a sort of a sense of flow. And once you have that movement and breath down, you can speed it up a little. Go with whatever pace feels good to you. In yoga, this would be like a seated cat-cow movement. One more deep inhale as we arch forward, and then exhale, just let our shoulders drop, come back to our normal seated or standing position. And we're going to go ahead and go right into the breath work. So again, I'll just remind you, what we're going to do is we're going to focus on our root chakra at the seat of our spine, or seat of our pelvic floor. Okay, so right at that perineum, and we're going to inhale and envision pulling energy all the way up our central energy channel until we get to our pineal gland, which is like this tiny gland in almost the center of our brain. It's related to our third eye chakra, and we're going to hold our breath and envision that breath putting pressure on that gland while we are holding that breath. Okay. So let's go ahead and close our eyes, and I'll first just talk you through a little relaxation. So dropping your shoulders, dropping any final thoughts or to-do lists away. Let any stress or anxiety of the day just fade off. Notice your breath moving easily in your body. Feel it gently moving through your airways, through your nose, down to your lungs. And then exhaling in reverse. Now exhale all the air out of your lungs, really pull in your belly, push out every bit of air that you can. And then on the inhale, imagine you're inhaling from that root chakra, nice and slow and long, up through all your chakras. Hold your breath, holding it right on that pineal gland. Just envision it in the center of your brain. Keep holding. And then exhale through the mouth. And just take one normal inhale and exhale. Catch your breath a little bit. And on that exhale, breathe every drop of air out of your lungs, and then inhale again from the perineum, the root chakra, all the way up to your brain, to your pineal gland. Hold. Keep holding. And exhale. Normal breath. We're going to do one more time. So exhale all the air out of your lungs. And then inhale from the perineum up through your sacral, your navel, your heart chakra, your throat, all the way to your third eye, that pineal gland. Hold. Keep holding. And then exhale through the mouth. And then go back to your natural rhythm of breath. Imagine all that intuitive energy we've just really built up through that process of raising our energy from the material chakras up into our upper, more ethereal chakras that connect us to the divine, connect us to our intuitive sense. When you're ready, you can flutter your eyes open and come back to this space and this moment, ready to create art together. And the first thing we're going to do, I said to bring like just, usually with acrylics, what I say is just have primary colors together. So I'll usually have the primary colors, red, yellow, blue, and then white and black. I'm not using any black at all today. So I have red, yellow, blue, and also a turquoise color that I have so I can save time from mixing. If you want to mix a turquoise or if you have any special colors you like purple or magenta, feel free to use whatever you want. If you want to mix a turquoise, you can mix blue and yellow to make a nice green, and then add more blue along with some white, and just play with that back and forth, how much of those you need till you achieve a nice turquoise or teal color. So I'm going to start. What I want you to do is just cover your background of your canvas, pick two colors, and just sort of messily make a background there. So I'm going to point my camera down so you can see what I do here. Okay. All right, so I'm going to go with like a really light yellow, and I'm not even fully mixing the color, as you can see. Like a lot of times I like to let it mix on the canvas. It gives me some variety in the color by having a little, you know, some more yellow areas, some more lemony areas, and some more really whitish areas. And then I'm going to mix a little red in with that. Get a nice light orange on my palette here, you can see. And I'm going to do a little orange too. So whatever two colors, pick two that go together, that mix together well. Like, don't pick complementary colors like blue and orange or purple and yellow or red and green. They will get muddy on you. So we're doing a real fast process today, and we don't want to take the time for those to dry, which is what would allow them to mix better. So I'm just going to really make my background really loose. Okay, so just so I cover up the white, that's all I'm trying to do. Might add another little swoosh there. Okay, so that's my background there. I'm not trying to make it a flat color. I'm just leaving the brush strokes as they fall. Okay, so I really want my brush strokes and that enthusiasm, that expression, that abundance of spring to show in my brush strokes. Okay. And then the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to grab a small brush. So that was using like a large, maybe 1-inch flat brush. I'm going to grab a small, this could be a small, it doesn't have to be that small, but it could be a small round brush, a small filbert, which is like a rounded square, or like this is actually a square brush, but it sort of has lost its shape. So it looks like almost like a wedge. But I'm going to go ahead then and pick my like reddish orange color here, and I'm going to go ahead and start putting some words on here, some words that say spring to me. So right off the bat, I'm going to use spring. And again, I'm doing it really quick. I'm not trying to really make it a clear, clearly executed word. I'm going to do some words small, facing different directions, uppercase, lowercase. I don't really think about it. Okay. You can make them more expressive like this, where I just sort of like did a swoop off of the word hope running up the side there. Okay. I'm going to pick another color and do a few other words, and then I'm going to move right into some symbols like hearts or circles or stars or moons, little flowers, leaves, whatever my intuition calls me to do once I start once I start moving my brush around. That's how I figure it out. Okay, so now I have like a green. I'm going to make it a little darker, still using the same brush. And let's say I have spring, I have hope. I'm going to do the word growth with the green here. Now, because my orangish red here is already drying, it's okay, because otherwise it would get sort of muddy. But this worked pretty good. It's visible. Okay, so, and just to show you from your point of view, okay, so I let it, you know, I'm not trying to make a perfect letter. I'm not trying to make the paint solid. I'm letting the brushstroke fade off wherever it wants. I'm moving off the canvas at times, keeping it really expressive. I'm going to lighten my green a little bit now, make it more of a lime color, and start making some like patterns and shapes now in the background. I might still add more words, we'll see. But I just want you to get really loose right now. Pick different colors, because we're going to paint our flower over this. Okay, and so a lot of this will get covered up, or you'll just see this peekaboo effect of it. You can just make zigzaggy lines. I'm going to do a little flower shape up here, really subtle. Maybe I'll make it a little darker so you can see it a little better. There we go. A little blue in the middle. Okay. So just go ahead and get a little loose. Think of growth and abundance. Think of shapes that you like to play with. Hearts, spirals. I'm going to do a really light spiral. I think I'm going to go right over this heart that I just did. Okay. I'm going to do a few more little flower shapes. So I'm going to have some flowers like in the background of my painting that I'll just overlap. They may end up being totally covered up. Let's do another one down here. You could keep doing words or symbols, whatever you think feels fun to you, feels like growth, feels like abundance, feels like the spring equinox energy. So maybe like here, I know I got a good idea. My next shape will be like a little sunburst. I'm going to push it off the edge of this spiral. So not a second of what I'm doing is planned before I hold this workshop. Like I really just literally was like, oh yeah, spring, sunshine. Let me do some rays going off the edge of this spiral. Okay. So do a little wiggly line, I think, inside this spiral, just for fun. Bring it up and around here. And because I only used a little blue up there, I'm going to add a little more blue to my piece and maybe some of that turquoise together. So let's see, a little more turquoise there. Maybe I'll add like inside of some of my lettering here. I'm just like sort of accenting it. And again, it's nice to have areas of like big shapes and little shapes, big words and little words, areas of like here I have a shape, here I have words and squiggly lines and a flower, and then here I just have like dots. So this gives a nice patterny feel to some areas, and that's what builds up contrast in the piece. Okay. And then usually when I do that in one place, I do like to do it in other places. So I won't try to spread it all over. I will just do it in a few key areas. So one area, I might just do a little bit of it like here. And then another area like up here, I have more of it. Okay. And then I have a little here in the center as well. So already I have a whole lot going on in that, in my piece. So I'm going to pull the camera back up so you can see me. I'm going to show you what my painting looks like right now. Okay. So any questions before we move forward? We're already about halfway done. So then the other thing you could do if you want to really get messy is, let's see, I'll try it. I haven't done this in a while, is get a brush really, really wet, like soak it in water, and I'm going to do a little splattering. Let's see if I can avoid splattering on the camera here. And I think I'm just going to choose my really light, buttery white color. And I'm just going to splat a little here. Okay. Whoops. Okay, so there I just sort of hit my brush on the canvas so I can just smush it around a little with my finger. So I'm just like tapping on my brush really hard while it's close to the canvas. And that gives a really fun look to it. Also very like spring energy to me with these splashes all over. Now I could lift the canvas up and let it drip, but I don't think I'm going to do that today. I like the splatter effect that it gave, and with that yellow, it's really subtle. It's like a almost white. It's so light yellow. Okay. So now my next brush I'm going to use, and you don't have to, like I have 3 brushes, my large flat, I have a medium round, this one here, and then I have that small flat brush that I used for the lettering and the small shapes. Okay, so another thing I could do here before I get into my flower is if I get my brush really wet, this is a hog bristle brush, so it's really stiff. And if I wanted to, I could go in and sort of like loosen up the edges, almost like a watercolor effect on some of my lettering. So will that make it less legible? Yep. Yep. But it doesn't matter to me. It's about the energy I'm putting on the canvas, not making everything perfectly legible. Okay, so I sort of just felt like I wanted to soften that up and let that emerge from the background a little more. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to do a big flower shape on top of this entire piece. So now I have to decide what color I want to do. And so I think I'm going to use my red, and I'm just going to use it right straight out of the tube. So actually, first I'm going to grab, before I do that, I'm going to make the center of my flower right in the middle. And I'm going to use that white again. And I'm actually going to do another like little, instead of doing a circle for the middle of my flower, I'm going to do sort of a little bit of a spiral there. So, and then I'm just going to do like a flower, just like I would do as a kid. Okay. I'm not trying to like necessarily keep it on the canvas. I'm going to let the petals go all the way off the canvas. A little more paint already. Okay. So, and I'm letting these colors mix. So you can see how like they're picking up colors from my background. That one a little bigger. And we got one more here. Okay. All right, so there I have my flower petal shapes already. And now I'm just going to sort of add a little dimension by making the center of them. And again, I'm letting my brush strokes just fade away. Like what we want to see some brush strokes here. We don't want everything to be all smooth and perfect. Unless that is what you're going for. I'm not going to tell you no, there's really no right or wrong. But for me, for these kind of sessions, I like it to be real expressive and just see where the brush strokes take the painting. So because some of my paint in the background is still wet, some of those splashes I did are still wet. It's doing a nice mix as I hit it with these brush strokes. And I'm not putting a whole, too much paint on my paintbrush. That way it gives me a little of this dry brush effect where it starts out with heavier coverage at the center here. And then, you start to see the brush strokes as the brush dries off there. Okay, and now I'm going to just add some embellishments. So I'm going to make a little bit of a purpley color with my red and blue. And I'm going to just, again, just add some brush strokes to define my petal, maybe add like sort of a little shadow to that center to give it more dimension. Add a new color to the painting. And I'm sort of letting it mix. Like I do mix it on my palette, but I don't fully mix it to a perfect purple. Whoa, they're getting yellow in there. I let it mix on the canvas. I think you get a more expressive, organic look that way. Oh, there's some of that yellow I picked up by mistake. It looks pretty. Okay. Now I'm going to get some of that lighter yellow, a sort of a transparent version of it. And I'm going to go ahead and like add a light back into the edges here or to the outside so that I have almost like a highlight going on the end of my petals. Again, you have to be careful that you're using colors that are going to mix nice and not get muddy. So for this kind of fast painting, that means picking colors that are either close together on the rainbow or the color wheel, as artists would call it. If you're not familiar with the color wheel, we just say the rainbow, makes everybody knows what the rainbow looks like. Okay. All right. So you can see it's starting to give it more dimension now. You can still see a lot of my shapes in the background. If I want, I can go in and like pull paint off with a dry brush, like it back over any of my lettering here that I want to show through, or I can just rub it off with my finger or a rag. Another technique is using the back of the paintbrush while the paint is still wet to do some fun, almost doodling or texturing within the paint. So I'm just going to doodle around here because I know my paint is drying very fast. And I just want to show you this technique. This one is already dry. We got a little bit. Okay. So now the other thing would be to go back over this now with some more textures or patterns, or like maybe I want to make some little leaf shapes here and there. So that's what I'm going to do here I'm going to mix a green again, and I'm just going to do some, leaves. And I'm going to fade that in because I don't like how stark that was. I'm just going to I want it to be more subtle. Okay, so I'm not trying to do like necessarily leaves that are all that accurate or anything to what they would look like on this flower. I'm just trying to sort of suggest leaves more than anything else here. And that's not, again, that's not something that you have to do. It's just a shape I felt like playing with. You could be adding more sunbursts, or we have a lot of the blood moon, lunar eclipse energy still working with this spring equinox. So that would be another thing to like build some of the lunar shapes, some moon shapes, either all phases of the moon or just working on, the full moon or crescent moon shape. So now I'm sort of liking how the green is the opposite of red. So now that my red's mostly dry, I can go in here and there, add a little green sort of at the base of some of those leaves. I think that's helping it stand out a little too. And it is really messy and wild and full of abundance here. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to actually grab one of my lighter colors and I'm going to go along like the edge of, let's see, I'll grab a, get like a light peach color. I'm going to go along the edge of each petal just a little bit, like the left edge. And I'm going to work my way around, give it a little bit of a highlight on each side. And I'm sort of just, letting that brush stroke fade into the flower. I'm going to go back into my teal color. I'm going to bring that into just like some brush strokes and some of these leaves, really rough, just like really loosey goosey, as I like to say, with the brush strokes. I really like how that teal makes things pop. I'm going to add a little teal to the center of my spiral too. That was fun. Okay. Now I'm going to go back with my purple. I'm going to get my mix of a nice purple again. And I'm going to go along that opposite edge where I did the white. And I'm just going to add a little bit more of that purple, a little more at the base again. Just to add some more dimension to my flower. Now I'm really letting the brush strokes show even more. I'm just following each petal like in a clockwise fashion so that, one side is showing the highlight and one side is showing the more shadowy side. So I'm really not working with a specific like light sources if it's coming from one direction or another. Just like adding dimension from one side of the petal to another. Hmm. And now the last thing I'm going to do, and that you may want to do, is you can still add some words now over top of some areas or within the petals or between the petals. You could do some doodling between all the petals. I'm going to add some more words with this brush. So I'm adding the word bloom. I'm just throwing in some of that turquoise again because I really like that. Sunshine. Add spring again. To add equinox here somewhere. I think I'm going to do it right down here along this edge of this flower petal. Really, I should have probably even a smaller brush if I want this to be a little finer detail. I'm gonna go ahead and just like add a bit more of this teal brush stroke here and there. Just, I really like that aqua color. All right. And now for one more level, my last level on this painting. Let's see what time is here. Okay, so that's the time. So before I move on to that, let me put the camera up. Anyone else have any comments? Questions? So I'll show my painting again here. I like the way it's like, it's not perfectly centered. It's a little lopsided. Like that to me is that energy of blooming and abundance. If you really want to execute this like a beautiful, fully formed, more realistic flower, of course, you need to spend more time on it and really work on the shading, having a light source coming in from one direction or another. But this is meant to be a more expressive, just all about that spring equinox, energy of abundance, energy of new growth, energy of radical change that we're seeing in 2025. And that maybe we want to ignite that in our lives as well. And or we want to just embrace the feeling that we can handle all this radical change if it's not something we're looking to actually create in our lives, like just looking to embrace it in a way that fuels our life and our creativity and more abundance in our own lives versus putting us in any kind of fear or stress or anxiety mode. So now I'm going to go back over mine in a little bit more of a spiral. So back down to my painting. So there's my wild, abundant. I have shapes, I have hearts, I have growth, sunshine, blooms, spring. I had spring in the background here somewhere. You can't see it anymore. I have equinox, hope. I have other flower shapes, leaf shapes. My original spiral and sunburst shape, you really cannot even see that anymore. So I'm going to go back with my really light yellow. And I'm going to go ahead and actually go over this entire flower with a whole other layer of spiral. This isn't something you have to do. I'm just feeling called to do it. So you can continue like overlapping on your flower too. Once you finish your petals, doesn't mean your flower has to be finished or your painting has to be finished. You can continue with some layers of more texture. You could, add lots of little flowers now around your big flower or within like your different petals. Just giving you some ideas on what might inspire your, another layer for you if you're not sure where to go with your flower power. You know, to me, like embracing the radical change at flower power energy is letting it get wild, is letting it get messy and playful, and breaking rules, doing things that don't necessarily make sense, but just feel fun in the moment. So I need a little bit of a paper towel. My shape got a little wonky here. I'm just going to rub it off a little bit. I'm going to stand up and take a look. Yeah, that added so much more fun to the painting. But I need to make this more curve more up there. And this. I'm even gonna go here and sort of as if my spiral line is getting sort of wider and fatter as it moves off the canvas on this side. I'm just going to scumble along the edge. Scumbling is when you lay your brush down and sort of rub it a little bit, like as if you're scrubbing. So that's what I did there. I think I'll do it down here too, just to give some of these edges a different effect, like edges of the spiral where I have it more, you know, small and linear through the center. And then here on the edges, I'm like fading it out a little bit. And I use my fingers a lot when I paint too, so it's very rare that I come away, you know, without having a mess all over me. But you could wear gloves. You could also use a rag to do some of these effects, or you can put paint on a crumpled up rag and get a really cool ragging effect that way. So maybe I'll do that now just for some final touches. Let's see, where would I want to? Just going to add a little more of my whitish yellow on a rag. So I just put a little bit on a rag, and I'm just going to go here and there, add a little bit of texture, not all over. I don't have much. I'm just sort of like using up some paint on my palette to add some more texture here and there. A little teal color. Oh, I like that. So I'm going to add a little more of that really lightly so I don't get too crazy. And I'm just overlapping a little of my spiral here and there, overlapping some of my textures from other areas. There we go. I think I'm going to stop before I just end up covering everything up. Okay, so see down here, I added a lot of just this little ragging texture. I love this interplay of color now, just these little organic shapes from the ragging, from my words, different dots I was making with the brush. I have the central spiral of my flower, and then this overlapping spiral, and then all kinds of just brush strokes and subtle leaf shapes. Areas where my purple mixed with the white a little bit made a lavender shade, really pretty. Lift my camera back up. You guys can see me, see my painting. So this is the conundrum at the end, is which way does this look the best? I think I liked it the first way. I held it up like this. So that completes my Flower Power Equinox painting. I'd love to see what you guys created. If you want to share, let me go ahead and uh, Let's see, Karen's. Oh, that looks really cool. Oh my gosh, you got lots of wild energy in there. Very expressive, lots of good brush strokes. Oh, here, let me see if I can unmute you. I think you have to unmute you. For some reason, it's not letting me unmute you. Should be in the bottom. Awesome.
Yes, it did get a bit chaotic. And I lost my original words, but that's okay.
Yes, yeah, it is. Yeah.
This was quite different from the Dreamcatcher because there the paint dried so quickly.
Yes, yeah.
So this has some mess in it.
Well, yeah, well, this is a much faster process, right? That's why I do the small canvas too. And it does help to just really, if we keep colors close together on the color wheel, it does help from it being, you know, causing any like muddier colors. But I think yours looked really neat and had some, you know, that chaotic energy really is that abundant energy of spring. You know, it's like you can have snow one day and 80 degrees the next day. And
good point.
You know, there's like my backyard right now is like dead and brown. And then I look down and see this beautiful, brilliant purple crocus growing out of the ground. So I love that part of spring. And also the weather, right? It can be crazy. It can be crazy with storms and things like that. So Ina, did you want to show anything or? Ooh, I love it. Is that watercolor or did you use acrylic? Oh, you have to, oh wait, here, I can unmute you, I think. Now I see, no. Oh yeah. You'll have to hit unmute.
It's watercolor.
Yeah, okay.
And they did start to run.
Uh-huh.
I have 2 great-grandchildren, so I got Leo, but Magnolia Jade started to just disappear into like a Disneyland mountain.
I like how you have a little Easter bunny in there and you did some Easter, you know, your word Easter in there too. So
yeah.
Very nice.
Grandkids. And
yeah, and you got really saturated color for the watercolor. Like it's not real faded, you know. It's really nice.
I really prefer the tangerine orange, but it got out into turquoise and purple and red.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, I was quite pleased. I had fun.
Awesome. Thanks for sharing it. I know sometimes people are shy about sharing their artwork, so I really appreciate you guys sharing and coming today. So I'm going to go ahead and end the session and just, you know, thanks again for coming to the Spring Equinox paint party and getting your flower power on with me. I hope you enjoyed the, you know, the moving your body a little bit, doing that breath work to really activate your creative energy and the intuitive sense of the third eye.
Thank you. I'll be watching your website.
Thanks. Yeah, that's great. And so I'll announce next month's paint party at some point. And the Dreamcatcher online course has the replays in there now. So if you're signed up for that, the replays from both of my live Zooms are on there as well. So.
All right. Thank you.
You're welcome. Have a wonderful night, ladies.
You too. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye-bye, Michelle.